Hello again, everybody. I hope you're ready to set out on another adventure. This week, we're going to take a look at an island with a very different sort of culture. The pilot has lit the fasten seatbelt sign, so let's get ready to go to Japan. Japan is an island off of the coast of China in the Pacific Ocean, 5,240 miles away from Fresno. If you wanted to drive down to the airport here in Fresno and hop on one of those fancy real planes today, a ticket might cost you about $1,400, and that was the cheapest I found. But that's because of the short notice. If you were to plan your trip, you could fly to Japan from Fresno for around $500, which is still no small chunk of change, so I'll stick with armchair travels. Even though we might think of Japan as being very close, it's actually over 11 hours away, even by plane. There's a lot of ocean to cross. And now we'll begin our descent down into Tokyo, the capital of Japan. Looking out our window and seeing the city lit up, our eyes are naturally drawn to the tall tower, and for a second we might think that the captain has made a mistake. The Eiffel Tower is not located in Tokyo. But the Tokyo Tower is a communication and observation tower in the Shiba-Koen district of Minato, Tokyo, Japan. At 1,092 feet, it is the second tallest structure in Japan. The structure is an Eiffel Tower-inspired lattice tower built in 1958. The tower's main source of income are tourism and antenna leasing. Over 150 million people have visited the tower. Foottown, a four-store building directly under the tower, houses museums, restaurants, and shops. Departing from there, guests can visit two observation decks. The two-story main observatory is at 490 feet, while the smaller special observatory reaches a height of 819 feet. Anyone want to trek up there? Well, I'll show everyone the view, though to be honest, Tokyo looks no different really than any other modern metropolis, though the second view the tower gives you through one of the floor windows is a little more vertigo-inducing. Yes, that orange you see is the tower. She's prettier at night when you can't see that she is painted orange and white because of modern international safety regulations. But dwarfing the heights of Tokyo Tower is the new Tokyo Skytree. It became the tallest structure in Japan in 2010 and reached its full height of 2,080 feet in March 2011, making it the tallest tower in the world. The tower is the primary television and radio broadcast site for the Kanto region. Skytree was completed on Leap Day, February 29, 2012, with the tower opening to the public on May 22, 2012. The height is 634 meters, which is equivalent to 2,080 feet, and this was selected to be easily remembered. The figures 6, mu, 3, sa, 4, shi, stand for Musashi, an old name of the region where the Tokyo Skytree stands. And what is broadcast over those giant antennas? Well, on at least one channel, you can find the famous faces of Mickey Mouse, Minnie, Pluto, Donald, and Goofy. Disney is very popular in Tokyo. In fact, they even have a Tokyo Disneyland. It was the first Disney park to be built outside of the United States, and it opened on April 15, 1983. The park was constructed by Walt Disney Imagineering in the same style as Disneyland and the Magic Kingdom. In 2013, Tokyo Disneyland hosted 17.2 million visitors, making it the world's second most visited theme park behind the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World Resort. Perhaps the strangest part of Tokyo Disney is that it isn't strange at all. The park mimics almost everything like Disneyland in California, with the same rides, the same foods, the same characters, and everything. The biggest difference is that Tokyo Disney is built a bit more spread out with wider streets and paths to accommodate larger crowds. In fact, it seems a waste to fly half a day to see something the same as in California. So let's go next door to Tokyo's second Disney theme park and see something we can't back home. What you can't find in California is Tokyo Disney Sea. They opened their doors in 2001 and has become one of the most highly regarded Disney parks in the world. With ports of call based on Venice, turn of the 20th century New York, a harbor town from Arabian Nights, an overgrown Mesoamerican river, and more, it features some of the most detailed and immersive spaces in any Disney park. This is why, even thousands of miles from the real thing, we can take what looks like an authentic gondola ride through the canals of Venice, and then a few moments later we can explore Captain Nemo's office and fight the Kraken in the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride, or explore the mysterious headquarters of the Society for Exploration and Adventurers, right inside the park, across from the sprawling Mediterranean harbor and cemented into the cooled lava flows of the park's iconic Mount Prometheus, is the majestic Fortress Explorations. Within its hollowed halls, you'll find a 3-story Foucault pendulum, a recreation of Da Vinci's flying machine, and a navigator's hall containing perhaps the world's classiest remote-controlled ship game, piloting antique sailing ships around the ancient continent. That's what's shown right now. Spiral staircases, stone turrets, drawbridges, hidden chambers, optical illusions, grand murals, and ancient engravings abound within. Does anyone remember that we're actually in Japan? Well, if you've forgotten, Sensoji Temple will help remind you. It doesn't get more traditionally Japanese than this. The oldest religious site in Tokyo is also its most visited. The Sensoji Temple sees about 30 million annual visitors and dates all the way back to year 628. Despite its claims to antiquity, however, the structures that currently stand are relatively new reconstructions. During World War II, nearly the entire temple was razed. The Sensoji Temple is dedicated to Asakusa Kannon, the Buddhist god of mercy and happiness. According to legend, 2 fishermen struck gold and found a statue of the god while fishing on the Sumida River. The Sensoji Shrine is dedicated to this lucky catch, as well as features a small homage to the fishermen who caught the statue. Unfortunately, while here, you won't be able to see the actual statue. It is there, but it isn't on public display. It has never been. Either way, Buddhists and interested tourists alike flock to this attraction with the hopes that being in the presence of Kannon's healing powers will rub off on them. Buddhism came to Japan by way of China, who got it from India, and little changed in its migration. Buddhism is a religion that offers a spiritual path for transcending the suffering of existence. Samsara, the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth to which all beings are subject, results from the consequences incurred by one's karma, the sum of good and bad actions that accumulates over many lives. Release from this endless cycle is achieved only by attaining enlightenment, the goal for which Buddhists strive. A Buddha, enlightened one, is an all-knowing being who has reached that perfect state of transcendent knowledge in which the fires of greed, hate, and delusion are quenched, and upon passing into nirvana is never subject to rebirth again. In Japan, there are over 75,000 Buddhist temples all across Japan, everywhere from remote mountaintops to the middle of cities. Buddhist temples are often visited during holidays and yearly festivals. One of the most important holidays, the New Year's celebrations, are inherently Buddhist. On New Year's Eve, Buddhist monks strike temple bells 108 times for the amount of the world's humanly defilements, cleansing their sins and purifying minds. Shushoi on January 1st is a gathering usually held at Buddhist temples to reflect the mistakes of the previous year while making resolutions to a better life. Reflection and resolution are basic elements of the Buddhist way of life. The native religion of Japan is actually Shintoism, though Buddhism has been around so long that it would not be regarded as foreign at all. The essence of Shinto is the Japanese devotion to individual spiritual beings and powers, to shrines, and to various rituals. Shinto is not a way of explaining the world. What matters are rituals that enable human beings to communicate with kami. Kami are not God or gods, they are spirits that are concerned with human beings. They appreciate our interest in them and want us to be happy. And if they are treated properly, they will intervene in our lives to bring benefits like health, business success, and good exam results. Because ritual rather than belief is at the heart of Shinto, Japanese people don't usually think of Shinto specifically as a religion. It's simply an aspect of Japanese life. This has enabled Shinto to coexist happily with Buddhism for centuries. The name Shinto comes from Chinese characters for Shen, meaning divine being, and Tao, meaning way, which translates to way of the spirits. Since most Westerners don't often get a chance to view this religion up close, I've arranged a tour of a Shinto shrine. The bright torii gate marks the entrance to the Shinto shrine. Most torii gates are made of wood and painted like this one. There are also some torii gates which are constructed using cement or stone. Near the entrance of the shrine, you will see a purification trough where the water from the fountain is meant to be used for purifying oneself prior to entering the main shrine hall. After you have passed the entrance, you will be likely seeing the main hall of the shrine. At the main shrine hall, you may do the following. First, bow gently and pull the rope to sound the bell. This is like a notification to the kami that you have arrived. 2. Put some coins into the offertory box. 3. Bow twice, clap twice, and make a wish as you like with your hands joined together in front of your chest. And 4. Bow again when you are done. Thereafter, feel free to roam around and explore the beautiful architecture of the shrine buildings and beautifully trimmed gardens of the shrine grounds. It is also worth noting that there are shops in the shrines which sell all sorts of lucky charms, fortune-telling paper slips, and wooden plaques for you to write your wishes. Now, it's been a while since we've seen our favorite go-to spot for dinner, so everyone gather around because McDonald's in Japan has more than 50 items that you cannot get back home. From wasabi chicken nugget dipping sauce to a German sausage chicken sandwich, featuring a piece of fried chicken, pork sausage patty, and sauerkraut topping. But I thought everyone would enjoy trying a more locally influenced treat, so our dinner tonight will be the famous Squid Ink Burger, 2 beef patties that are covered in fried onions and cheese, sandwiched between 2 buns dyed with squid ink. For dessert, chocolate sauce drizzled fries, and all washed down with a McFloat, which is soda water, fruit juice, and soft serve ice cream, available in mango, blueberry, and melon flavor. Anything sound tempting? And then we can settle into our traditional hotel. A ryokan is a typical traditional Japanese inn that has existed since the 8th century AD. They typically feature tatami-matted rooms, communal baths, and other public areas where visitors may wear yukata, or a light robe, and talk with the owner, so they're sort of similar to our bed and breakfast. A typical ryokan has a relatively large entrance hall with couches and chairs where guests can sit and talk. A modernized ryokan often has a television in the hall as well. Guest rooms are constructed using traditional Japanese methods. Flooring is tatami and doors are sliding doors. Even if the inn uses hinged doors for security, it usually opens into a small entranceway where guests can take off their shoes before stepping onto the tatami floor, which would be separated by a sliding door. Many ryokan rooms also feature a porch or balcony, also set off with a sliding door. Bedding is a futon spread out on the tatami floor. When guests first enter their room, they usually find a table and some supplies for making tea. The table is also used for meals when guests take them in their room. While guests are out, staff will move the tables aside and set out the futon. Most ryokan offer dinner and breakfast, which are often included in the price of the room. Most visitors take their meals at the ryokan, which usually promote themselves on the quality of their food. In order for each dish to be enjoyed at the proper temperature, ryokan stress that guests should be punctual for their meals. For this reason, most ryokan ask guests to confirm the time they want to take their meals. Some ryokan have a communal dining area, but most serve meals in the guest rooms. Ryokan which are likely to serve non-Japanese guests may also have a selection of Western food. Bright and early the next morning, let me take you to Akami Ravine. This is the historical training ground of Iga-style ninja and home to the Akami 48 waterfalls. Visitors can experience ninja training courses in the natural environment of the forest and waterfalls of the ancient Iga clan. Historically, ninjas trained in this area were often used for intelligence activities from the 15th to the 18th century when Akami was part of the country called Iga. Iga required stealth forces trained in espionage, infiltration, and assassination to maintain their independence during the Warring States period. Today, visitors can become ninjas themselves in full ninja costume. The course is designed for adults or children, and instructors will demonstrate and train participants in mental concentration, climbing, intrusion, balance, vanishing, weapons, and more. But did you know that the traditional costume we picture ninjas wearing, that all-black outfit with only the eyes visible, actually comes from a different Japanese cultural practice, kabuki theater? As cool as the ninja outfits look, in reality, ninjas didn't have an outfit. They wore whatever clothes anyone else would wear at the time. What we think of as ninja outfits were actually all black clothes that stagehands in kabuki theater wore, not to be seen during performances. The audience could see them, but they wore all black in order to tell the audience that they were not part of the story. A ninja character would dress in the same garb as the stagehands to fool the audience into ignoring him until he revealed himself as part of the story. Our next stop is to the iconic image of Japan, Mount Fuji. To get there, we'll be taking the bullet train known as the Shinkansen and could take travelers from Tokyo to Osaka in approximately 4 hours. That time has been cut to 2 hours and 25 minutes today. There were 333 Shinkansen trains in operation between Tokyo and Osaka in 2012, carrying an average of 391,000 people at a maximum speed of 270 kilometers per hour. Despite that, there have been no fatal accidents involving passengers aboard a Shinkansen to date. The average delay of a Shinkansen traveling between Tokyo and Osaka was 36 seconds in 2012. That includes delays due to heavy rain and other natural disasters. In sharp contrast, Amtrak states on its own website that trains traveling 400 kilometers or less are considered on time if they arrive within 10 minutes of schedule. Mount Fuji itself is really a volcano. Not only is it one volcano, it's three. The mount is three separate volcanoes placed on top of one another. The volcano is also known for being home of the warrior culture in Japan. The samurais used the area for training. More recently, military camps from both Japan and the USA have operated from Mount Fuji. Mount Fuji is indeed still active, although the last time it erupted, it was 1707, over 300 years ago. At Mount Fuji, we can visit Sengen Shrine, originally built over 1,000 years ago for the protection from volcanic eruptions. It has become the region's most important shrine, and the shrine is also a traditional starting point for climbing Mount Fuji. This is also the starting point for our tour of the region. Our first stop in touring this region is Takasago Shuzo Sake Brewery. Sake is a Japanese alcoholic drink made of fermented rice, koji, often translated as rice malt or yeast made from rice, and water. In Japanese, the word sake also means alcoholic beverages in general. Explained simply, sake is made when rice is ground, washed, and steamed. Then some of the steamed rice will be used to make koji, the yeast derived from rice. After that, the koji and the remaining steamed rice and water are mixed and then allowed to ferment. More rice, koji, and water is added to the mixture thereafter, at which point the drink is filtered and bottled. This is why the sake from this region is considered special, because it is made with waters that are purified by their contact with the sacred Mount Fuji. In Japanese Shinto-style wedding ceremonies, the bride and groom take turns sipping sake from 3 different bowls, each one larger than the one before. Sharing from the bowls is meant to represent sharing joys and sorrows. There are also several tea farms in the area. Tea is the most common beverage in Japan and an important part of Japanese food culture. Various types of tea are widely available and consumed at any point of the day. Green tea is the most common type of tea, and when someone mentions tea without specifying the type, it is green tea to which is referred. Green tea is also the central element of the tea ceremony. The first Japanese contact with tea most likely occurred in the Nara period, 710 to 794, when Japan sent several diplomatic missions to Chang'an, the capital of China's Tang dynasty. From the end of Japan's Kamakura period, 1185 to 1333, through the beginning of the Muromachi period, 1336 to 1573, tea competitions emerged as a popular pastime. Unlike tea competitions in China, the object was to distinguish between tea grown in different regions. These events were known for their extravagant betting. Today, the tea ceremony is still practiced by many in Japan and abroad and survives as an honored and thriving tradition. The essence of the tea ceremony has made it a reflection on life, even in today's world. The fundamentals lie in the humility of the guests, appreciating the moment's uniqueness in terms of time and place, season, and those present, and the art of simplicity and balance in form, movement, and objects. These 3 fundamentals have found their way outside of the tea room and into many aspects of Japanese life. Consider, for example, the simple architecture of houses and buildings in Japan. In the tea ceremony, humility and respect are expected of the guest and the host. The door to the tea house is a low crawl space that requires all who enter to bow and humble themselves before entering the precious space. With regards to simplicity and balance, every aspect of the tea ceremony supports these ideas. Nothing in the tea room should be loud or garish in order to not distract from the moment. Simple colors and design in clothing, art and floral arrangements are ideal. Every moment in the tea ceremony, whether performed by the host or the guest, is perfected to the most simple and minimal act possible. The tea used for the ceremony is matcha, made from the ground green tea leaves and whisked with hot water to create the purest form of tea. Nothing is added, nothing is changed. Another natural wonder of Japan is the onsen or hot springs. Some 27,000 hot springs are spread across Japan's 3,000 onsen towns, and many might require a bit of a strong nose because they reek of sulfur from the underground where these springs bubble from. But they all have one thing in common. Complete nudity is mandatory. Most onsen baths are gender segregated, but mixed baths do exist, and these are the only exception to the nudity rule. Some mixed gender baths allow towels or swimsuits for modesty, but the really ancient ones might not, so enter at your own peril. Waters from many hot springs are naturally too hot and have to be cooled before they become suitable for bathing. For your safety, don't soak for too long, drink plenty of water before and after, but avoid alcohol. Eating right before or after bathing is also not recommended. There is no swimming around in onsen. One sits and absorbs or relaxes. Also, you should never let your hair touch the water, so if your hair is longer, you may need to tie it up. Onsen are also the only place you can get a traditional Japanese snack, black eggs. The eggs are ordinary chicken eggs, but the sulfur in the water reacts with the egg's shells, making them black and imparting a sulfur-tinged flavor and odor to the cooked egg inside. Local tradition holds that for each black egg eaten, 7 years is added to one's life. However, some say that eating more than 2 is not recommended. This next stop you might either love or hate, depending on whether you're a cat person or have allergies. Welcome to Cat Island. On the island of Toshirojima, the cats outnumber people and the people like it that way. It's no accident that the cats who inhabit Toshirojima, or what has become known as Cat Island in Japan, have come to be the island's primary residents. Cats have long been thought by the locals to represent luck and good fortune, and doubly so if you feed and care for them. Thus, the cats are treated like kings, and although most are feral because keeping them as pets is generally considered inappropriate, they are well fed and well cared for. Despite this, luck and fortune haven't exactly come to the human residents of Cat Island. In the last 50 years, the human population of the island has dwindled from 1,000 to fewer than 100. As more and more people have shunned the island as it became dominated by felines, the people that have remained have become ever more protective of the cats. Currently, dogs are not allowed on the island to protect the well-being of the cats. The cats may end up bringing luck after all. Tourism has been picking up as the island has become an attraction for curious travelers thanks to all of those cats. Perhaps the best memorial for the Japanese is to retain some of their cultural distinctives to honor their ancestors. I've personally always thought Japanese clothing looks very comfortable, and this couple certainly seems happy to be in them. Traditionally, the garment men and women wear are called kimonos, which translates into thing to wear. The man's lower striped garment is called hakami and might be divided into pants or be a wraparound garment tied at the waist. The clothing is traditionally made from silk, but nowadays many Japanese wear Western-style clothing and only wear the kimonos at formal occasions or religious festivals. And so we head back to America, having really taken only a small sip from this rich and beautiful country. I hope you all enjoyed Japan. I'll see you next time when we travel to Denmark.